of this teacher that I had, and was required to take Feminism 101. It was called Women's Studies. Maybe it was Women's Studies 201 at the University of Rhode Island. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm a feminist, of course. Who doesn't want equality as they sold it?
Yeah.
I get into this classroom, and this teacher, I realized very quickly, was not actually motivated by wanting equality. I was in a classroom where she was trying to convince me that every problem that we had in society was due to men. This was a literal class that was designed to basically teach women to hate men.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, all you had to do to get an A was she would introduce any problem. She could have lost her keys that morning. And why did this happen? Well, you know what, who designed cars? You know who designed cars? Do you know who designed the whole concept of a car key? And who designed the couch that you lost it in this morning? It was men. It became to the point where for me, it was like laughable. But there was this one particular class where it clicked for me. Because when I was in college, I had an eating disorder. So I was sitting in her class, and I was anorexic, and she gets into this topic of anorexia, eating disorders, and she gave us some statistic about the percentage of women that have eating disorders. And I'm making this up now, but it was something like 80% of people who have eating disorders are women. And she asked the class, why is that? And we were supposed to say, and she did say, that it was because men control the advertising agency, and men want women to be skinny. And I had to literally, I'm sitting here having this experience, nothing to do with a man. Like nothing, no man said you're fat, you have to be skinny. That is completely made up. And I'm listening to her try to psychologically convince me that my eating disorder came from a man when it just factually didn't. Most people who suffer with anorexia know it
actually has nothing even to do with weight. It just is like, this is the one thing you can control. And I just kind of called her out on that, and I raised my hand. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, let's look at another statistic. What percentage of people are juicing up with steroids, right? That's not a super healthy thing to do. If we said that 90% of it was men, would you have presented to the class that it was because of women, right? Because women are telling them they have to look like this. And she was, when I say she went white, and she said to me, and I always tell the story on stage, she said to me, I feel like you were sent to me from the men's department.
Of course.
Yeah. And I told her back that I was sent to her from the common sense department.
Yeah.
And that everything couldn't be because of men. So I think that was kind of the first time that it clicked for me that this was some sort of a psychological program. In many ways, I was actually saved by...
How old were you at that point?
I was in college, 20s? So I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
It was the first year of college.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a prerequisite. So it was interesting for me, I think.
Did that make you shift your priorities? Like,
I was never a gun-ho feminist. I just was like in the back of my mind, same way that I was liberal. Like I was never voting Democrat, but if you had asked me, what do you think about this? I would have very quickly been like, of course we need feminism.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of thinking, man, these women are really annoying in this classroom. Because then there were the majors that were there, you know, the people, these women that were tatted up and like growing their armpit hair out. You know, we had those people in class, and I was like, I don't like any of these people. So it made me think that there was something more to the feminist movement, I think, which was indoctrination.
Interesting. Okay. So I think you've been able to do what every woman dreams of: have a family, have children, have your dream man, but simultaneously being able to also, you know, run a business and do what you want to do. And I noticed when you were debating on Jubilee, some of them tried to say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite. You're over here talking about feminism being bad, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you obviously have a lot of things set up where you maximize your ability to be with your family, right? You do your show, get out of there, spend time with your family. What would you say to the people that sit there and try to call you a hypocrite because, you know, you're successful in your own right, but you've been able to also balance a family, which many women can't do. They want to do it, but they can't do it. What would your response be to those critics?
First and foremost, do not allow people to rule you by exceptions. What I mean by that is, it is such a mistake to look at my life and to say, Candace did this, and so therefore I can do this. My life is actually exceptional, right? We are sitting in my house. I do things on my own terms. I wake up in the morning. I get to homeschool my kids, right? I'm homeschooling my children for hours. That's now very important to me. I get to do a podcast from home, and I am actually doing something that I enjoy, right? What is the number one thing? If you find any woman that makes it and she's successful, what is she doing? She's tapping into her femininity, communication. women communicate more than men. I have a whole chapter on this. If you have a daughter and a son, you know this. Girls start speaking faster, and we will speak more words from men for the rest of our lives. And when you actually look, and I ask people in this chapter, if I ask you the question right now, who is the most successful man in the world? Just give me your answer. If you have to name a couple of them.
I was going to say, like, from a financial perspective?
Yeah, sure. Full stop. If I said who's the most successful man in the world,
you could say like the richest guy in the world, who would be Elon, even though it pains me to say that. But
okay, yeah, no, but that's the right. You would say Elon, or you would say
something based on meritocracy, finances, and
you would
status.
say Jeff Bezos. Precisely. Everyone would say the same answers, right? Yep. If I ask you who is the most successful woman in the world, what would you say?
That's where it gets true. Yeah, right. I see what you're saying.
Like, what is it? Like, off the top of your mind, like what are the names that come to your mind?
Yeah, it's an ambiguous. Like, you're like, okay, well, are we going to go off career? Are we going to go off where?
But most people would say like Taylor Swift or Oprah. Mm-hmm. These women are nowhere near the richest women in the world. Nobody knows the name of the richest woman in the world. Mm-hmm. And so I go about through this in my chapter. Yeah, you'd say Beyonce. I'm like, these are the names that you would say off the top of your head if I asked you who's the most successful. Nobody knows. Everybody knows the names of the most. The richest men in the world, and yet nobody knows the names of the richest women in the world.
Good
right?
Point.
Nobody knows the names of them. And the answer is a Russian woman. And I talk about this in my book. I'm like, nobody knows her name. And the women that you do name actually all tapped into their femininity. Taylor Swift was writing songs about relationships. Mm-hmm. She was writing songs about looking for love. Mm-hmm. And women flocked to this. Oprah was communicating to the housewife, right? She was speaking about issues. They're tapping in actually to the one thing that actually you think they're standing against. Oh, they're the ultimate feminists. No, they tapped into their femininity and found success, actually. And women do not, when we think about success, we don't measure it in terms of finances. That's why these women, we think, are the most, quote unquote, successful women in the world. Mm-hmm. Whereas men naturally think finances. Oh, it's Jeff Bezos, it's Elon Musk. So I do a chapter and I speak about that in my book about who the richest woman in the world is. And then the next 10 women who are the richest in the world are all rich because of who they divorced, mm-hmm. right? Yep. Yeah. So what is the picture that we're recognizing here? We don't measure success in the same terms as men measure success, nor should we. And it's important for women not to think that becoming financially rich somehow means that you are successful or that you have triumphed something in life.
And since having children, like, how has that like shifted your priorities as far as, I mean, and you can go into as much detail or as little as you want, as far as like how you've kind of prioritized child rearing versus like maybe your career and doing social media as much? Because I noticed, you know, before you were super, super active, you still post obviously every day, but now it's like, you know, you have other priorities. So how has that kind of shifted? Yeah,
my family is my number one priority. I would say having kids made me more secure than ever before. I just don't care about the noise. None of it matters anymore. And also, I have real stake in this fight. Before, these were just ideas. America shouldn't be run like this. This is why, this is what's bad. Once you have kids, you have actually a real stake in the future of America. So when I am podcasting, the subjects that I am covering to me are existential, right? Are we being ruled by pedophiles and criminals? That's now existential for me. What is happening in the school systems? What is happening in these churches? What is going on? This is now existential because my children will inherit the America that I fight for or the America that I remain silent about.
And just to kind of finish off with the feminism real quick. So what do you think are the top 3 things holding women back from fulfillment and happiness right now?
The number one thing I would say that's holding women back would be not understanding the history of feminism, I think. I think once you know that, everything, like, knowledge is actually power. I would say the second thing that's holding them back is the psychology of peer pressure. And that is the psychology, and the peer pressure starts when we are in school, with women being told you have to go to college, you have to have a career. The last thing you should be thinking about, you have plenty of time. You don't actually have plenty of time. Biologically speaking, you literally don't have plenty of time. Men might have plenty of time, biologically speaking, but your body is telling you don't. Mm-hmm. And so I think, and then that kind of gets into the education. The education system truly is just Soviet propaganda in the classrooms. So those would be the top two things. And so they're ignoring their gut instinct and following the herd.
So understanding what feminism is and how it came into place makes it a lot easier to understand everything else. All right, fair enough. What do you think so far about this, switching politics? What do you think so far about this administration with Trump?
Look at that.
Good, bad, the ugly.
Sad. Honestly, the first thing that I would say is that it makes me sad because obviously I spent a lot of time helping Trump get elected, trying to help Trump get elected, and Trump is...
I see a photo right here, yeah.
Yeah, he's a part of my political story, right? A part of my political awakening, if you want to call it that. And it feels to me like when he said, what Epstein files, you know? Are we still talking about the Epstein files? It was just like we were so close. We did everything we could. And we were supposed to be fighting a swamp. And then what happened? What the Loch Ness monster, which is Israel, rose up and swallowed our hero whole. So it makes me sad. And I think we all can very clearly see what has happened on the basis of who is now supporting him. The literal Never Trump movement is now supporting Trump and telling us that we're radicals. The people who initially supported Trump. So there's been a complete flip, and they're trying to use mechanism of psychology to convince us. Oh, we just got here, but we noticed this rot, which is the original movement. It's completely ridiculous. Their tactics aren't working. But I think it also indicates to us that there is something very scary and sinister as in DC, that turns good men, it petrifies good men that go in with the best of intentions, and then they see something else. And what happens to these people? We don't know. Where is I mean, day in and day out. Cash Patel and Dan were saying, we're going to do this. Now they look petrified. They look petrified. Actually, there's nothing here actually to see about these Epstein files. What are you talking about? You kind of made your show off of what needed to happen with the Epstein files. So it's sad.
So if you were to rate them, because people have asked me this question, so now I get to ask someone else. What grade would you give them right now at this point, based on, you know, obviously the Epstein files? I agree with you. It's a huge debacle. It's going to probably be a huge negative in his legacy at the end of the day. If you had to grade his presidency,
so we're 11 months in roughly, what would you say?
So I would say I'm biased. So if you're asking me to grade, you know how you would have those teachers where if you would take a test and they would automatically flunk you if you didn't put your name on the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein thing for me is like automatic flunk if you don't put your name on the paper, right? Gotcha. So if like I'm a mom now, so this was the most important thing to me, was figuring out where the pedophiles are in our society. And
that was your number one voting.
This for me, becoming a mother, because you have to remember Epstein, and I did a partial series, a mini series on what we discovered about him. He just got pulled through the ranks, right? Bankrupted Americans. Same thing with the Maxwell family, bankrupted people in England, and was allowed to do this. He had absolutely no background. He was given access to children. He had an office on Harvard campus, despite only having a high school diploma, which I can't even verify his high school diploma, if I'm being honest with you. And this was going to show us everything. He had access to Hollywood. He was working with Weinstein. He had some notorious fight with Harvey Weinstein right before Harvey went down. So now I'm kind of going back in my mind and thinking that's a question I should probably ask Harvey Weinstein, is what they were fighting about. And he had access to models. I mean, this man was just handed the keys to Les Wexner's empire, which even how that empire started has got a shady story, with a guy who said that Les Wexner was the literal devil. He was the guy who controlled Victoria's Secret. He said, this man is evil. And then suddenly that guy jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge and decides to give his company to Les Wexner. That doesn't really make sense. So we had this rare opportunity to really understand how the Matrix was put together, in my view. And Trump took us to this line and then balked. And I'm not sure why he did. Okay. Maybe it's because he almost survived an assassination attempt. He survived an assassination attempt.
Yeah, two of them.
And maybe they put him in a room and said, here's how it's going to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try not to judge him, because I don't know what he is going through. But for me, the Epstein files was a name on the paper.
So what are your thoughts on the current news? Because it just resurfaced again. They're, in the process right now of getting everything classified. I understand that there were a bunch of emails that came out. And it's coming back up again. I can tell because I'm seeing nothing but CNN clips on it. Anytime they love to hit Trump when it comes to this Epstein thing. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the latest information that came out recently with the emails and everything else like that?
When he initially balked on discussing Epstein and Pam Bondi, who did the whole crazy bit, I was told that it was because there was donors he was protecting, and that makes sense to me. I have never felt, and I'm a pretty good vibe person. Trump's not into kids, right?
Mhm.
So the nature of the emails, was he at a party when people should just think about that. When people say, oh, they exchange, like he was on his plane, never on the island, but like was on the plane, or was at a party. If you were at a, I mean, you live in Miami. If you were at a party, the idea that somebody could be at any club that you were at, or any party that you were at, has somebody that's underage and looks like she could be 18, and that doesn't really track to me as any evidence of anything other than the fact that he was at a party once, and Jeffrey Epstein was very clearly running a sophisticated network and a blackmail ring. So I don't think that whatever they have on Epstein with Trump and Epstein is going to implicate Trump in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been around him. Trump has a type, and I have never felt that vibe from him at all. But I do think he's protecting some of his donors. I do believe that, because I look at them and they just creep me out. And he took a lot of money from Miriam Adelson, the Adelson family, hundreds of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson. And I think that's kind of the beginning of everything. So when they started leaking these emails, I read it as like a public threat to him. Maybe they're arguing about something in the background and he's holding the line on something. So because they obviously have all the Epstein stuff. He was their blackmail guy, you know? And so if people don't listen, they probably do a little trickle. That's how I read it. I read it as like a public threat, and they want something from him, and they're going to be like, capitulate or we will hit you with everything they have. And we need to have a leader that just comes right out in a press conference and says, they have this about me. They've been threatening me with it. I'm going to tell them to release everything, and I'm going to hold the line. People would cheer. We wouldn't even care. We'd be like, okay, like, as long as you are not implicated in harming children, right? I can deal with you being at a party that Epstein was at and finding out that whatever it is that they have on you. That's my gut instinct about the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that I think he doesn't give me the vibe that he's like doing that type of thing with children. But I do think that maybe there's something in there that looks really bad optically, and that's might be why, or to protect donors, like you said. Because I look at it like, if there was something really bad like that, the Democrats would have exposed that during the Biden administration if there really was. So, that's another thing as well.
All right, you guys, if your credit card balance is freaking you out after all of the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk's Saver Plan for just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super fast nationwide 5G network. And as a veteran-led company who cares about giving back to those who .com today and use promo code Candace at checkout, and you'll get $20 off your first order. Again, that's riverbendranch.com, promo. Great terms. You still want to make it as peaceful as possible.
TMZ reported, and I have to ask you this because I've always been wanting to ask you this. They reported that one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of you is because you did the show with us. And when we talked about Jews, we hit the sound effect, the cha-ching sound effect, and that, I guess, that infuriated Ben Shapiro. Is that true, or?
I know where that leak came from.
Okay.
And it came, gosh, am I allowed to say anything about this? She no longer works for the Daily Wire, and I think she was behind that leak. Yeah, so she no longer works for the Daily Wire. So that was interesting. I can neither confirm or deny whether or not that is true.
Okay.
But what I will say is I would have never expected that sort of a PR. I mean, it's just the opposite of the way that I am. I mean, I've worked with several companies. I've worked with PragerU. I have obviously a lot of disagreements with them now, but I had a very peaceful working relationship with them. They treated me fantastically. I've said this 1,000 times. Like, what I think about them now and what their contributions are to what we're fighting, I could never go back and say like one bad word about how they treated me. They were really good employers and very communicative. If I ever had an issue, I mean, I think my contract with PragerU was like 2 pages. I'm not even kidding. It was crazy. Marissa never even wanted to talk about contracts. She's like, if we ever have to talk about the contract, she was like, you should probably leave because like I don't want you here if you're not happy.
Yeah.
Obviously had a very great relationship with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. So for me, having never had any sort of a debacle ever in my life, in terms of working for people, it was new. It was global. There was so much happening. And I didn't know if we were going to survive it. Genuinely, my husband and I it felt like it's like trench warfare. Your every move, you're not even thinking about the implications. It's like, I just have to put one foot in front of the other and fight. And I first and foremost just grateful to God that my husband was just rock solid. I think if my husband had shown even a fraction of apprehension, fear, anything, I probably would have come apart. And this again gets back to the importance of marriage, because there are things that men are designed to deal with. Women are designed, like I was good on the psychology games of what they were trying to do, but in terms of just getting down and building the infrastructure and like, okay, we need to rebuild the podcast. We got to do this. We got to figure this out. We laugh now. I mean, even because my team came with me, which was something that was also a huge blessing. I'm so grateful to my team, because I went to them and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. We can't offer you health insurance. We have nothing. So if you leave the comfort of where you are taking a risk.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this thing is going to end. And also we're like being banned from society also. So the chances of this podcast working when we're banned from everywhere, even YouTube demonetized us, it was slim to none. And they were just like, we're coming with you. So to look back on that, it's just a tremendous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the audience, my team, and first and foremost, my husband,
So he helped you through that process. Because I remember like it was all over the place, and obviously there was an enormous amount of pressure, but you were able to use that to your favor. You get let go from Daily Wire, you start up your own thing. And, obviously this topic is a very controversial topic when it comes to Zionism, Jewish power, and these other things. And it led to some things. What red pilled you on this topic that made you say, I got to speak up? Even though this is a very taboo topic, you could get, like you said, deal with demonetization, cancellation, losing an employer. What made you say, I got to speak up on this?
I want to get into heaven. And I think people don't realize that that's real. Like, I think people who are atheists don't understand that a part of this whole psych operation was to make you an atheist. Because if you knew for certain that when you die, there is more, which there is, you would be living your life differently, right? I want to get into heaven. And so at the very moment that I know anything is true, I can't tell a lie, right? So when I was working, and giving the example again for PragerU, I genuinely, first off, wasn't up on the topic of Israel. It wasn't kind of a common discussion. There was no pressure on me to get out there and say things that are pro-Israel. I just genuinely believed it, in the same way that I tell people Charlie Kirk just believed it. There's no conspiracy. He just was like, yeah, Israel, I'm a Christian. And obviously Israel has biblical connotations. And so I support Israel almost like it's a periphery.
Yeah, it's like a default setting.
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
a default setting. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. In the
it's a factory
GOP
setting.
Yeah.
And people who attack that and assume that everyone's in on an agenda should stop doing that. At the moment that it kind of became and I would say after October 7th, they were kind of demanding that you take a side, I watched Bassem Youssef. This was truly the mental turning point for me. He went on to Piers Morgan and it went viral. And he held up this paper where he showed how many deaths there were every year of Palestinians versus Israelis. And I will never unsee that. And he was being totally a jackass about it, was just kind of using humor, which is the best tool, and being like, so what's the equation of how many lives are worth? So I'm going, okay, so I'm supposed to believe these are the evil people, but this is how many people. And then I had Norm Finkelstein on my show at the Daily Wire, because I was like, let me go to someone who actually is not an anti-Semite, right? His parents survived the Holocaust, and he's a professor who was denied tenure for a ridiculous reason because he is committed to telling the truth about Gaza, and he wrote so many books on it. And that to me was like, wow.
So that like red pilled you on the topic, like seeing the deaths and everything, because no one ever sees like the Palestinian perspective, because it's like almost like in America, well, especially if you're a conservative, the default setting is we support Israel unequivocally every single time. And you never even hear the other perspective. So, and I've said that too, like October 7th kind of opened up this discussion. Whereas like, I remember before it, like if you talked about it, you would get demonetized, banned. That's what got me demonetized was that topic, especially before October 7th. So you start talking about it. I remember you had debated a rabbi, I can't remember his name.
A couple of them. There was Rabbi Shmuley, and then there was
that idiot and the other
who
one.
was. Oh gosh, I have to remember his name. He was my favorite. Candace.
Yeah,
this is the worst anti-Semitism. He actually was low key my favorite because he was so over the top.
Oh yeah,
he was so over the top, and he was like, "You can't even say what was it, witches." Skylar, what was the name of that rabbi? Barclay, Rabbi Barclay. That was his name.
And I think that was one of your last debates you did on Daily Wire too. I think you were still on the Daily Wire there. Did Ben ever like have a conversation with you about this? If you could disclose it, like
no.
he just like never talked to you in person about this. He just like trashed you. Because I remember seeing a clip of him like at some type of social gathering, like late in the year of that year, saying, "Oh yeah, I think what she's doing is despicable, blah blah blah." But he had never had a conversation with you.
No, and after that, we never had a conversation.
Wow.
So that happened, and that's we never had a conversation after that. So
he didn't even have the decency to like figure out, hey, what's going on here, have a conversation. You're just like,
I tried. Yeah. It never happened. So
wow. Okay. So you got banned from Australia. Right, you got banned from Australia.
It's a gangster.
And I was like,
super bad.
Because people try to tell me like, because I talk about world Jewry being a thing and how it's an international cabal that works together, for the betterment of Israel, and they're located all across the world. And I use that example of how they got you literally banned in Australia, even though they represent like 2% of the population. How did that even happen? Like, how'd you get notified? Like, how'd that even come about?
I was going to tour in Australia, and the Zionist lobby found out, and they publicly posted. It was like the Zionist Organization of Australia, maybe it was ZOA, publicly posted this thing.
Like their equivalent of AIPAC, right? Essentially.
Yeah, it's another AIPAC. There's so many of Zionist organizations, and I will say on the conservative side of Australia, the Jewish conservatives did also write a letter in support of me, saying like, we disagree with her, but she should be allowed to speak. But they were effectively the ADL, and they posted this thing and publicly said that I should not be allowed in. My rhetoric was dangerous. They lied and said that I said that Jews, what did they say that I said? That Jews drink the blood of children, which was, it's just like completely.
The blood libel?
It was unbelievable. I mean, the way that came about was me liking a tweet, literally a like of a tweet of a person who called out Rabbi Shmuley and said Rabbi Shmuley had told a huge lie about me. So they were replying to Rabbi Shmuley and said, you didn't include that she, and then like told the truth about what I said. And then they ended their thing with, are you drunk on Christian blood again? So me liking this tweet, they went full media press corps. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Candace says, I'm like, are you kidding me? It was so obvious why I liked this tweet. Like this person debunked Rabbi Shmuley's lie, but this is how they lie. Yeah. This is how they lie.
And they take everything literal.
They take
even
everything
if it's hyperbole
literally
or whatever. It's like, oh, look at you, vile anti-Semite.
Yeah. And I'm like, obviously I like this tweet because he defended, he pointed out that Rabbi Shmuley told a ridiculous lie that had nothing to do with anything. Rabbi. Yeah, he said that my followers threatened to kill him or something very serious. And he was like, you're showing this inbox.
And didn't he try to sue you for that?
No, he threatened to sue.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was quite a time, but they successfully got me banned. I've never been in trouble, nothing. And they decided that I am too dangerous to speak in their country. So that I still think, and this has been my belief, everything that is happening, God wants to happen. So when that happened, it was because Australians needed to understand something about their country. Mm-hmm. Because people who didn't like me, who didn't support me, or weren't conservative in their country kind of looked up and went, why is this like mom of 4 being banned from our country? No matter what I think about her, I certainly don't think she's a threat, that she shouldn't be allowed in. And we've got literally people who have been accused of murder, people who have violated their visas in other countries, people that rap about murder are allowed in here. And you're telling me she's saying something that's so dangerous. And it, I think, contributed to more people listening to my podcast. What is she saying? So I do feel we are in this time where the more that they lie, it rebounds very quickly onto them, and it creates more pressure against them. And they can't stop lying. So
yeah, because you can never lie once, right? Like they always say, when you lie once, then you have to keep lying to perpetuate that same lie.
Right.
So New Zealand also banned you, right? And then you were able to how'd you go about being allowed to come back to New Zealand? Did they You write a petition, or how'd that happen?
No, actually, their person. So they have a reciprocal system, which is weird. But if Australia bans you, you get automatically banned in New Zealand. So New Zealand didn't actually ban me. Tony Burke in Australia banned me, and they have some weird reciprocal system. Then when they found out, their minister, and his name was Chris something, I should remember it, was like, I'm just against this, and he reversed it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he had the power to reverse it. So New Zealand actually stood firm on free speech.
Okay, I didn't know that. So like, basically, when one party does something, the other one kind of reciprocates it, but they do have some type of veto power. What other ways, I guess, has the Zionist lobby came after you? I've seen ADL articles. I've seen SPLC, right? They target me too.
Oh gosh, it was everything. It was everything.
Did they lobby to get you demonetized on YouTube too?
Absolutely. Yeah, that came from the Awesome Jew.
Yep.
The Awesome Jew, who was in attendance, by the way, when Charlie got peer pressured in the Hamptons. And yeah, it was just a full court. They were like, just start mass reporting her for violence and violent rhetoric. And they did that. And then I had no strikes. And then I went to all strikes overnight. And YouTube demonetized us. We were demonetized for 6 months, I think. It was like September, maybe it was 4 months. And so that was, can't make any money on YouTube. So we had to we had to then build our own website, which we did. So what it forces you to do is to become your own power center, right? If you ban people everywhere and you say you can't, you're not allowed to fight in this realm, we're going to start building our own realms. And I think they're learning that lesson, is that there seems to be the opposite thing that's happening. So they would attack us on YouTube. They obviously got petitioned to get me fired, banned from Australia. They went after like my family members. Obviously, they tried to pretend that there was all this friction between me and my husband's father, and that could not be further from the truth. I love my husband's family. They have always treated me very well, but they wanted that narrative out there because it was part of the cancellation is even our own family hates her. No, we have different viewpoints. People can support Israel. People cannot support Israel. You don't marry into ideas.
Yeah, of course. Of course, there's nothing wrong with having disagreements. But.
Right. And I'm just thinking what else they attacked. It's been nonstop. And then, of course, the lawsuits, nonstop legal lawfare.
So right now, between you, Tucker, Nick, they're attacking all three of you guys, saying, "Oh, you guys are anti-Semites and you guys are pushing this whole thing." And I give credit because you three have done an incredible job of, awareing the American public on this topic when it comes to Israel's control of the Middle East, what they're doing over there, how they've been able to get away with this for so long, killing people and no one knowing. And, they've been targeting you guys quite a bit. And I see that, there's been a bunch of drama with Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro and everything else like that. What are your thoughts on the on the situation? Because anytime they mention Tucker, you're right there, right? When it comes to the criticism of Israel. Yeah,
even Bibi Netanyahu name checking us was crazy.
Yeah.
On the TikTok thing and why they needed to buy TikTok, they're letting you know this is a psychological operation. That's what they're telling you. They've gone masked down, and they've just come more inward. I have no idea why they kept attaching me to Tucker Carlson. They wanted both of us gone, and
Mark Levin loves you.
Yeah, I know. They force fired Tucker. They force fired me, and then they realized, we can't control them, and we started having to build our own power centers, and they didn't like that.
And they made you guys bigger.
Exactly. So, and then with the Nick Fuentes thing, I promise you, I had never heard the Nick Fuentes backstory until after I was fired from Daily Wire. There was this Twitter audio or X audio space that he did with Jeremy Boring, who at that time was the CEO of Daily Wire. And I heard the backstory and I was like, this is insane. Like what happened to him. Nobody can look at that backstory of what happened to him and not realize that it was just evil.
They did everything they can to contain him. It's ridiculous.
It's like he had his life ahead of him. And so you kind of root for that. You're like, no matter how I feel about him, I root for him against the Zionist lobby. And this rule that you can't speak to Nick, why can't I speak to Nick? Can't my audience decide whether or not they want to listen to him? There's this false idea of platforming him, that somehow that's going to be harmful and you can't platform him. If I platform him and Nick seems likable, right? And then he goes on his show and he says horrific things, and my listeners then go over to his show, they're not going to keep listening to Nick.
Yeah.
They're actually then going to have questions about me.
Yeah. Let the people decide.
Let the people decide.
Yeah.
You don't get to think for people.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as platforming ideas. If people are following that idea, that is on the people. people. And they are smart enough to make their own decisions. I don't need to tell people to listen to Nick, to not listen to Nick, to platform Nick, to not platform Nick. If I want to talk to Nick, I'll talk to Nick. If I don't want to talk to Nick, I don't talk to Nick. And there's something about the true free markets that Zionists can't stand. They're constantly manipulating the markets so that people think that they are number one, and they're not. They actually require censorship in order for them to be number one.
Yeah, and that's their game. And you know, I seeing Ben Shapiro have a meltdown. You know, they had the Republican Jewish coalition a couple weeks ago, and just saying like, oh, these people are platforming whatever. I find it interesting how like they never like. Because when you guys, if you actually listen to the interviews that you guys do a lot of the times, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. I understand like why you have this worldview. They never criticize what you guys talk about, right? They always criticize you guys directly, saying they're pushing anti-Semitism. Well, what are they saying that's anti-Semitic? Oh, well, it's just anti-Semitic. And they don't even want to have the discussion, the debate,
usually the truth
or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you hear Nick Fuentes' backstory, it's compelling. It just is. I was compelled when I heard it. I actually haven't gotten around to watching his interview with Tucker. It's on my to-do list this weekend, but I'm assuming he told his backstory.
Yep.
And then people look at it and go, what is up with the Zionist lobby that they're going after 18-year-old kids for questioning Israel? That's actually what they're fearful of, is people understanding just how long this has been going on, how vicious it is that it will even go after an 18-year-old who's just asking questions literally. And yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the mass awakening that's happening.
Yeah, no, and you know, I credit you, Tucker, Nick, some of the biggest voices in it, like waking people up to this problem that we've had for so long, right? I mean, it got us into wars. And I do think that we're making an impact on it, because I remember when Trump bombed Iran, he had a lot of pressure on him not to do it, right? And he was like kind of going back and forth. I know Steve Bannon had like went to the White House and told him don't do it, or at least push it off a little bit. And he bombed him, and then he ended it there, right? Who knows if, you know, if he didn't have that pressure from his base to not go to war, if he had, it would have expanded the conflict, because we know Israel wanted to, right? If this was like 2003, who knows if we wouldn't have just gone into like a full-on war. But I think big voices in social media that we didn't have back in 2003 were able to kind of pressure like, hey, we voted for no wars. Like, and then it kind of forced them to be like, I want to keep the base. All right, just bomb them and get out of here. Because that was even very unpopular.
And then you saw the neocons go, oh, you were panicking. It was just going to be and the whole time you guys were just panicking, and it was just one response. You thought there was going to be a broader war. And John Miller put it quite succinctly he tweeted and he said, no, it's because we panicked and freaked out that this didn't happen. This is like saying a robber's outside trying to rob your house. Your dogs start barking and the robber goes away. And they're like, oh, you were just panicking. It's like, no, it's because the dogs were barking that this thing didn't happen. So no, every time which by the way, he still wants his war with Iran. They still want a regime change in Iran. And we have to continue to bark and continue to say that it's not okay. And it worked, because we held the line on it and used our platforms to say, this is the red line.
Yeah, no wars. And he literally was very ambiguous about it for days. So, and I think a big part of that is from all the pressure from his base with people that have big platforms. And this is kind of a beautiful thing where we have with alternative media, because I remember, and you remember too, we're right around the same age, the Iraq war, there was no dissent.
Right.
We're going and nobody cares, and we don't, you know, there was no one else talking about it. The news was super pro-war. Everyone wanted to go to war. And it wasn't until 10, 15 years later that the smoke evaporated and we're like, oh, this was a waste of time. Why did we go to Saddam? Has nothing to do with bin Laden. Like, it didn't make sense.
All right, you guys, maybe you owe back taxes. Maybe you have not filed your taxes in years. Well, I want to let you know that now is the perfect time to resolve your tax matters. With the national conversation around abolishing the income tax system, the IRS is fighting back, and they are proving that they are here to stay by becoming more aggressive than they've ever been. They're sending out more collection notices.
Ask you about, I guess, real quick with Harvey Weinstein, what got you interested in like getting his story out there?
So actually, I started working on the Harvey Weinstein documentary when I was at the Daily Wire, which, So somebody on his team reached out to me because they thought that I would be the only person that would look at this fairly, which is interesting because obviously he's gave millions to the ADL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we were this very unlikely duo, and I thought he was guilty. I thought there had to have been some guilt. I mean, there were so many women that were coming out. But this is how the media is effective at psychology, is that they know if they say something over and over again, it becomes true. And actually, I realized I didn't know anything about the case. And when I took a look at it, I was shocked. There is no question that Harvey Weinstein should not be in prison right now. And that's
the definition of Me Too right there.
Yeah, they took him out.
Yeah.
Who took him out? Why they took him out? That part still is not clear to me. But it should terrify any woman, especially me who has 3 sons, that they can do that. I think Me Too, what it represented was hostile takeovers of companies. That's kind of a theme, right? If you start to go back, you look at from Michael Jackson to Kanye to Britney Spears, these are hostile takeovers of companies. And I think Me Too was a proliferation where they hostilely took over a bunch of companies. And that's my instinct about it. And he was big. So maybe he wasn't playing ball. I actually do now have it on my mind that I want to ask him about this argument he had with Jeffrey Epstein that I learned about. I was very passionate about just telling the truth because the Me Too movement is problematic. I have a real investment in this. I have sons. Yeah. So I don't care what people think or need to think. I'm not voting for him to be my husband. I'm not voting for him to be the president of the United States. I'm not voting for him to be my pastor. I'm telling you that he was accused of something and the media completely lied to you about the circumstances. And it should terrify you because it means that our courts are corrupted. And they are. We know that. We know our courts are corrupted. Why? Maybe through the same system of blackmail. They've got judges in their pockets, but there is that's a part of the matrix. The court system is a part of it.
And I give you credit because you're very brave for doing that, because just like with the George Floyd documentary that you did, which was going against the grain, right? A lot of people gave you slack for that, like, oh, why are you interviewing this pervert, and why are you going ahead and trying to destroy the legacy of George Floyd? So I give you a lot of credit for because I do think that this whole Me Too situation and false accusations is very real.
It matters.
Athletes and professionals are constantly getting accused of stuff. I mean, we can look at what's going on with Andrew Tate, where it's like every other month, something is getting dropped. There are lawsuits being dropped here, or they're finding out that this woman lied here, or there was I think a pro soccer player that recently got out after having his life destroyed. So, this Me Too thing is a huge problem in the Western world. So let me ask you this with Charlie Kirk, because you're definitely one of the most outspoken people when it comes to the Charlie Kirk investigation and what's going on there. Obviously, you knew him personally. You guys have worked together for many years. I'll kind of just turn it to you, and you can just tell me, because you've been looking at this for a while now. It's almost it's over 2 months now. Can you take us through what you think happened on that day? What led you to believe that? And the timeline in general, who you think is actually responsible, who might be covering things up and everything like that.
Yeah, so I can tell you that I view the Charlie Kirk assassination as a military hit. I do not know who called the hit yet, but it's military. There's no question in my mind that it was a military
or foreign, or?
Well, I don't view the U.S. military as being controlled by the U.S. I mean, there are a lot of people we've been globalized for a very long time. I don't know that there's a difference there's decisions that are made in Ukraine for America. I mean, this is the tentacles of the U.S. military. Yep. It's a much broader and longer conversation that needs to be had. I mean, I think since JFK was assassinated, I don't know who's in control of anything, right? Much of what we see in the political realm is just an illusion. We're talking about what's happening in Congress, and decisions are made in boardrooms, in my view. With Charlie, I think that with everything that I have uncovered, there was very clearly a faith infiltration that happened. And I'm putting faith in quotation marks, because Charlie would have believed the people that came to him and told him to grow the organization and, to become the boots on the ground for faith. He cared very deeply about his faith. And the cast of characters and the pastors that are around him, rotten, very rotten. The McCoys, Rob McCoy, unbelievably rotten. And I've been covering a lot with him. And what it's looking like is that Calvary Chapel has been accused of tons in the past, and also accused of hostilely taking over well-meaning faith organizations and ministries, with Rob McCoy at the center of some of these scandals. It's looking to me like Turning Point's apparatus provided an opportunity. Now, who they're actually working for, what they're actually doing, I don't know. But I can tell you it is not about Jesus Christ. Okay. And this would explain why, for some unknown reason, Christian Zionist influencers have been losing their minds about the idea of investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's odd. I looked up and I'm going, why are Christian Zionists trying to use Bible verses to say that we shouldn't question anything? I mean, everybody knows you were a cop. the first thing you do when there's been a murder is to look around at the money, the finances, and the people around him. Common sense. Like, and then you pair that with the actual impossible things that they are telling us. It was a Christian miracle. His neck just stopped a 30-06 from 150 yards away. It was just your modern Christian miracle, you know? That's Fed slop, but it's worse than that. It's Christian slop. People using the Bible to psychologically convince you, you know, Jesus performed miracles, and this was just one of them. Charlie loved his faith. They're lying about weird stuff. I consider it a clue that they are lying about where Charlie was at in terms of his faith journey. They lied about the Hampton Summit. They lied about the fact that he had said, I have no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause. I just watched them all lie because I needed to see where all the stakes were. These are weird lies.
Yeah.
The one thing that connects all of these lies is faith. So that's where the focus of my investigation is right now. And I'm coming up, looking and going, all of these characters are dirty that were around him. So you're not going to hold up a Bible like a false prophet and tell me not to look here, or else I'm going to be condemned to hell. Because let me tell you how the Bible works, okay? Christ is king. What that means is truth is king. And if anybody is using the Bible to tell you not to pursue truth, you are dealing with somebody who is manipulating you.
Who do you think, I guess, I know you said the people around him, but who do you think is the most responsible? Why would they want him gone?
I think Charlie was not allowed to be anything but a Christian Zionist. And he was changing in the last few weeks. When I look at the timeline that I put together, some weird stuff, this Egyptian plane that was started tracking him, everything began ratcheting up after Tucker Carlson hit the stage. And in
July. Mm-hmm, oh yeah, I was there for that. Yeah.
That
pissed him off.
That was a something.
Yeah.
So I think Charlie was done, as Megan showed the video. He was telling Tucker to go max. All of the things that they lied about, we've now proven. And why were they lying about it? That's why this is the thing. Why lie if you have nothing to cover up? That's my common sense here. You only lie because you have something to cover up. No matter what the lie is you only lie because there's something that you're hiding. So if they had all come out right when Charlie died, if Seth Dillon, who pressed Charlie in the Hamptons, was like, oh my gosh, my biggest regret is the last time I saw Charlie, I was being such a jerk about the Israel. They were so stupid. And this is a reminder that you never know when you're going to see somebody last. It would have been like, oh, okay, nothing to see here. It was like a full court press effort to lie about everything. Josh Hammer, he never blinked on Israel. He was on the text message chain where Charlie said 48 hours before he died that he was done with the pro-Israel cause. Why lie? That's my question. And I don't like the silence from Turning Point employees. I know for a fact one of them, who I'm not going to name, has a text message from Charlie the day before he died saying, they are going to kill me.
Wow.
Now, he was not referring to the trans lobby when he wrote that message.
Yeah.
So why not present, if you are his friend and you're interested in the truth, why wouldn't you tell the public that? Wouldn't you just come right out to the public and say, hey, I don't know what happened, but like Charlie thought they were going to kill him. I do not like the way Turning Point is behaving. I've made that clear. And nobody is going to emotionally manipulate me and tell me that it's all good now. And to attack Turning Point would be to attack his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie told me years ago that he had, which I shared the messages, he was having a ton of visions and was telling me that Turning Point was going to be the death of him. He knew he was going to die young, and strangely knew that I was going to be the only person to defend him. Right. I showed the messages.
Yeah.
I showed the messages.
They tried to say it was fake and you pulled it up and yeah.
So we're here. We're here now. And I'm going to defend him. I'm going to figure out what happened.
What are your thoughts on how Erica Kirk has been dealing with this and some of the people that are close to him, his manager, Mike and all them? Like, do you think they're just playing a role? Do you think they're involved? What are your thoughts on them in general? Some of the people in his closest circle.
It is obvious to me that Mikey McCoy was the person that they wanted to launch as the new Charlie. That's very obvious. The way they brought his YouTube channel back with a speech from Mikey, and everyone was kind of trying to soft sell Mikey to us and was like, who's this kid? You're 23. Why are you the chief of staff of anything? You didn't go to college. Who are you actually? And He was having a ton of visions and was telling me that turning point was going to be the death of him. He knew he was going to die young, and strangely knew that I was going to be the only person to defend him. Right? I showed the messages.
Yeah.
I showed the messages.
They tried to say it was fake, and you pulled it up, and
So it's we're here. We're here now, and I'm going to defend him. I'm going to figure out what happened.
What are your thoughts on how Erica Kirk has been dealing with this, and some of the people that are close to him, his manager Mike, and all them? Like, do you think they're just playing a role? Do you think they're involved? What are your thoughts on them in general? There's some of the people in his closest circle.
It is obvious to me that Mikey McCoy was the person that they wanted to launch as the new Charlie. That's very obvious. The way they brought his YouTube channel back with a speech from Mikey, and everyone was kind of trying to soft sell Mikey to us, and was like, "Who's this kid? First off, you're 23. Why are you the chief of staff of anything? You didn't go to college. Who are you actually?" And you're brought in by Rob, your dad, who is dirty. I mean, very dirty guy. I covered more of that yesterday. He just gives me the sleaze and the ick, and it just is very strange that I felt like they tried to manipulate us into accepting this, almost like they had like, Mikey's going to be this person. Then we see Mikey, he's a hero, and he just walks away right after somebody. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, with Erica, a lot of people on the internet have been going into her past, going into her parents' past, and just speaking about these things.
Israel defense contractors, parents, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen all of that. I respond to that on my show, and what I've said to everybody is I'm starting with what happened on that day, what happened leading up to his assassination, and the people that catch my attention are people who are telling verifiable lies. Okay, Erica thus far has not told any verifiable lies. She did not lie about the fact that he had St. Michael on him when he died. So there's two things. She could be on autopilot, and some people could be reading that the wrong way and thinking, oh, well, she's not acting right. Okay. Is she on autopilot because she fears something? Right. Again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but you have to have some level of fear if you watch somebody get assassinated. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And so people have been upset with me for not going, down the rabbit hole on my show about Erica's parents. People's parents are people's parents. They haven't yet come up in my investigation. If I find out that her parents were involved, and then it's going to catch my investigation. And there's nobody that will be spared once they come up, once they tell a lie, once I come across something. I just literally have not come across anything with Frank Turek. Also, I haven't come across anything with Erica in my investigation. So,
the shooter or the alleged shooter, you think they're a patsy?
Of course, they're a patsy. I mean, come on, it's so dumb. He wasn't even on campus that day. They can't show us one clear image, not even one. All of these cameras, Turning Point has everything in 4K. So shouldn't you have caught the shooter on the roof in 4K? Like, you had cameras everywhere that day. Every inch of that campus is covered.
That was someone else that was running across?
Absolutely.
It wasn't Tyler?
Absolutely. Okay. Someone that just sprinted. I don't even know if there was a person that sprinted that day, because everyone's forgetting there was also a news report that came out a week before that somebody was on the roof, and a professor came out and waved the person. Now, they may have been dropping off a gun, dropping off a screwdriver. I don't know.
Because there's one video, like one of the students had panned
but that
out where
person
he was
who
running.
took that video that I had to track down, military.
Really?
Everybody's military in the story.
Really? So the person that captured that, because I remember when it first broke out, that cell phone footage got released where the shot goes off, and for some odd reason, he's looking at the roof, and you see like a little speck running on the top. So that person that took that video was military.
I got in touch with the person, and they didn't put the video up themselves. I had to go through 3 people. I'm like, so I'm supposed to believe you're like a college kid and you have nothing to do with anything. You just decide to randomly be like, oh, I got this video, but I'm going to send it through 3 people to have it released.
Interesting.
And also the Losey building, where the shot definitely did not come from, is the only place on campus that houses, I believe on the 3rd floor, according to my source, like the military something is in the Losey building. So there's a lot happening. That all of that was just a show to mask who the real shooter was. I think it's way more likely that the shooter was in the audience or to the side of the audience. I think that's the more likely story, because he wasn't shot with a 30-06 first and foremost, and the bullet did not destroy his neck. I know that for a fact. And he actually
30-06 throws everybody off. But
that was their plan.
Yeah.
Until I accidentally, which I didn't even processed it at the time revealed that the bullet didn't go through.
Yeah.
And then they kind of were like, oh, it was just a miracle. Actually, it was no 30-06.
Yeah, the text messages are a bit strange too. And, you know, this whole situation, like, I wish the government was being a bit more transparent because this has an incredible amount of public interest. So it's like, look, dude, you guys probably should be more transparent on this because government trust is down at its lowest when it comes to people trusting law enforcement, whatever. What are your thoughts on how the FBI and the state police are handling this in general? Because I know you've been critical of Kash Patel.
I think what's way more important is trusting Alexis Wilkins as a sensational singer, and the people like,
be careful, she might sue you.
I don't want to talk about like the feds right now. Like they're doing what they have to. The more important thing is that this sensational country singer is left alone. We are just not a serious nation. I mean, I think if Putin's FBI director or put that out, Putin would just quietly have him assassinated or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we are just not a serious nation. That is just, they are tweeting like girls on TikTok right now. And it's embarrassing. It is so embarrassing. He should have been forced to resign. Trump should have made him resign for embarrassing us because there's no way Putin's not laughing with his homies right now about that tweet. My girlfriend, my life partner.
Yeah.
We are.
She sued a bunch of people. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously with his blessing. Obviously with his blessing, or you would say, hey, honey, not now.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, this is a bad time.
This is a bad time. I've got to be taken as a serious man.
Optically, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the opposite thing happens now where everyone's now calling her a honeypot. And so what's she going to do? Like whack-a-mole, just sue everybody on the internet who's making a joke, sue Tim Dillon or something?
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. So it'd be fair to say, so you don't believe the official narrative, and I do agree with you, there's a lot of problems with it, right? Between a 30-06, why don't we have the full footage of him taking the shot, then running off? You're only showing him running. The text messages are strange.
You don't even show us him taking the shot.
Yeah,
that seems like a pretty easy thing to do.
That's one of my biggest issues is they didn't show him taking a shot, but they have him running across the roof. So it's like, how do you not have him prone shooting the shot? So I guess, and I know you're still investigating and figuring everything out, but if you can kind of give me a quick summary, what do you think transpired in that day? Who do you think is responsible? Maybe a rough timeline. I know you're still filling parts in, but from what you have so far, what do you think?
So this is a guess, and this is just like, if I had to guess right now where I'm at, and this, I think Tyler Robinson's only contribution was that he had his prints on the gun. I know that his prints were not the only prints that were on the gun, which is something that they haven't been honest about.
Okay.
I would suspect that
the
his only role,
DNA on that too and stuff.
Yeah, I think Lance Twiggs is much more involved. I don't think he took the shot either, but I think he's more involved. I think that Tyler Robinson's, all of these people that were involved that day got swept up in pedophile stuff. From George Zinn, the guy that cheered, his father is also a pedophile. The guy next, I mean, the whole thing is like, it was an operation with blackmailed people.
And the Zinn guy was at 9/11 too. Weird.
Yeah. I mean, just unbelievable. And again, more of a marker that this was like a blackmail operation. Also, Zinn told a nurse that he was being paid. He didn't know how he was going to be paid for doing that after. So he was supposed to be another patsy. And
yeah, because it was like immediate. Like he got like when this all broke out, he got arrested and he was like, it was out in the news like immediately.
Multiple people involved that day. One person maybe just supposed to run across the rooftop. Another, I think Tyler Robinson, all his job was to pick up clothes. I think literally he didn't step foot on campus that day. And his job was to get rid of the clothes next to the Dairy Queen into some cemetery, which I broke. And the FBI is not disputed, but they decided to monitor the Dairy Queen afterwards and send some feds there. And yeah, so his role was to pick up clothes. I think Lance is actually the one that's walking in the backpack. But
the TMZ footage,
the maroon. Yep, I think that's Lance. The TMZ footage, and I don't know who was walking up the stairs. I think that's a whole different person because they don't even look like they have the same body.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how you do a nice feather operation. You got a bunch of patsies doing different roles,
and then it shows the video of the stairway footage either, which is another thing that's strange.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I mean, I see there's a lot of, and I said it before, they've created more questions than answers.
Right.
Right. Which is obviously the problem here. But I know we're short for time here, so I'll just where can people find you?
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah, you're everywhere.
Yeah, at your
Congratulations on the
local
podcast,
courthouse. Your local courthouse being sued. If you'd like to find me, your local news station being called anti-Semite.
Oh, one last thing. Do you think? Because I know Turning Point, they had said something about we're going to go after anyone that's saying anything. Have they like reached out to you at all or contacted you? Because you're probably one of the most outspoken critic of what's going on with this investigation.
Happy to have any person at Turning Point on my show to discuss anything that I'm saying, to make any corrections about anything that I'm saying. They can make a statement for all I care. I'm not going to stop investigating this until we're told something that makes sense, makes rational sense. And you're not going to tell me, like you do with Israel, that I'll get into heaven if I just ignore how Charlie Kirk was killed. Like, we're not going to play that game. So say something that makes sense, or you have an enemy of me. That's pretty much it. And if you didn't want people prying into this narrative, maybe you shouldn't have executed him publicly.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have pretended he choked on an egg or something, like you did with that rapper a long while back when he started asking questions about things. Not a good idea to get everyone emotionally invested in the story and then to tell them to shut off their emotions.
No, I mean, you've been doing an incredible job of putting a lot of pressure on them, right? So hopefully we, get answers here, because what they have out right now just simply doesn't make sense. So,
right.
So thank you so much, Candace. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So great.
Yeah.
And also thank you for being so patient, because I know my schedule's so crazy with so many kids. And so it's like, we just got to make it happen. I was like, just get them down here.
Yeah, you're a mom, you have a family, so I totally understand it. So thank you so much.
Anytime.
Right. Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that.
The real question here is, do the Millers have anything else in their toolbox other than threatening citizenship or revoking citizenship when their feelings are hurt? Because that was Katie Miller, Cenk, Stephen Miller's wife, threatening to revoke your citizenship because you were too critical of Israel?
And her. So you're going to see later that she thinks that if you criticize Israel, you're criticizing her children. And if you beat her in a debate, she's going to try to have her husband denaturalize and deport you. So what I want you to.
How about this? I would like to propose a challenge. The don't feed into the tropes challenge.
Yeah.
How does this not feed into tropes?
Yeah, so we don't control anything, but you criticize Israel, we're kicking you out of the country when we're taking away your citizenship. Look, first they started with people who had student visas. I'm an American citizen. Now they're on to citizens.
100%.
Okay, so if you dare criticize Israel, no First Amendment rights, no freedom of speech, no, this government is going to target you on behalf of the Israeli government, and you're gonna see Katie Miller threatening it on air, live. And then I'll respond today, now that I heard her say, because when we were debating, I didn't hear her threaten my citizenship. I have a response.
Well, let me take you all for a ride, okay? We're gonna set this up, kind of show how this was building up in the context of this Piers Morgan interview. So the conversation centered on the New York City mayoral race. And as you can imagine, since you have Zoran Mamdani, who is Muslim, involved and poised to win that race, it'll bring out the bigots like Katie Miller, who immediately attack, right? And talk about how he's gonna destroy everything. So, as we all know, Zoran Mamdani has been smeared as some sort of jihadist and an anti-Semite because he won't declare fealty to Israel. But Miller had a different perspective. Let's take a look.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he
Nobody
wants to
said
make
Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're doing is you're decoding language
that
to
calls
mock
themselves
American
a Jewish state or a Muslim
state. That we should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani to use it.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
So I gotta say, this standard, this double standard actually, is pretty hilarious because, okay, I'll give you another example. Our government, whether we're talking about a Democratic-led government or Republican-led government, it doesn't matter. There's been a lot of tough talk and a lot of criticism toward China. Oh, that's it. They hate the Chinese. They hate the Chinese people. No, you're being critical of a government. I might not agree with the criticism, that's where we can have dialogue and a debate. But when it comes to Israel, no criticism allowed. She got hurt real quick in this exchange, like right away.
Yeah, so she's not a very good debater, so she skipped to the anti-Semitic stuff when she's supposed to wait for you to trigger one of the million tropes that they've laid out there, like landmines, right? And once you step on a landmine by criticizing Israel in any way, shape, or form, that's when she's supposed to pretend to be aggrieved and be the victim, right? So for example, you'll say Israel killed 20,000 kids in Gaza. That is a fact, right? And they'll say, yeah, that they don't deny that it's a fact. They go blood libel. Wait, what are you talking about? No, like 200 years ago, people said that Jews killed kids, Christian kids, when they didn't and drank their blood. Good news, I didn't say any of that. I said Israel, not Jews, killed 20,000 kids today. So what are you going to blood libel for? Because everything is a trope planted around Israel to protect it. So Anna's right. If England does something terrible, or the UK, or
which
Norway,
they have many times.
Yeah, Portugal, whatever. We're allowed to criticize any government. The Greeks, oh yeah, Turks, no problem. Everyone, but if you criticize Israel, trope, you're an anti-Semite. Why? Why do they want to call you an anti-Semite?
Because you don't criticize Israel.
Right,
That's
but
it.
why? So, but like, yeah, okay, you get called a name, maybe you get past it. No, the second part of that is once you're called an anti-Semite, then everyone has to never hire you, never put you on air. It is the ultimate cancel culture weapon. It is the nuke of the cancel culture. Like if you're anti-Muslim, no problem, you'll get back on TV. It doesn't affect your career 1%, right? If you're anti-black, that's gonna affect your career a lot, right? But if you're considered anti-Semitic, your career in media and politics is done. So what she's saying is eliminate him. And in fact, later in the interview, she literally says, I shouldn't be allowed to talk, and that any criticism of Israel is a criticism of her kids.
So she spends much of the interview talking about how she's the victim. And I'm not even exaggerating. Think about this. Just put it in context. This is Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller, one of like the most openly hateful, bigoted guys on the planet. He doesn't hide it. And she's talking about how she and her family are victims because Cenk is being critical of Israel. I kid you not, take a look.
We want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews, 1967 borders, but you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this?
He inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Pierce, where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield is anti-Semite. Fire him, cancel him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we try?
Do you agree when your guest says that the Millers always lie? Because that's what your guest on your show just said, is that the Millers always lie.
Are you gonna be okay? Are you gonna be okay? I mean, can you handle it being in the media? It doesn't seem like she can. She's got a weak sauce, pathetic podcast. I tried listening to it because I have an open mind. I'll listen to anything. Super lame, doesn't know what she's doing. And then she agrees to go on Piers Morgan's show. Have you ever watched Piers Morgan's show? Did you think it was gonna just be like were you gonna have your head caressed? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
She said that the Millers lie. I'm raising Jewish children in America. Okay, it's coded language. Like, well, I mean, that was insane.
So there's so many things here. First, on the kids' part, she's like, I'm threatening to denaturalize and deport you. Well, that's gonna affect my kids a lot, right? So, but my kids are not a concern because you're not pro-Israel, so your kids are irrelevant. They're just Americans. They're very lower than us, okay? But I say her and her husband lie. She's like, it's coded language for anti-Semitism, so it's hurting my kids. Wait a minute, that's not even a trope. You forgot that one. Okay, there's like a million tropes, but that's not one of them. That all Jews lie. I've never even heard that. You just made that one up. And so wait. But think about it, guys. Think about how much this is identity politics. and DEI in a sense.
Oh my, this is DEI on steroids. What are you talking about?
Because she's saying you cannot ever accuse anyone who happens to be Jewish of lying in any debate, even if they are lying, because it harms all Jewish people and their children.
Yeah, wrong again, Bob.
Then you can't ever participate in a debate. Then don't come. And then you see her look to mommy. She's like, Piers, why aren't you canceling him? He already said something against me. Stephen told me we could cancel anyone we want. We can kick him out of the country. Why don't you kick him out of your show, huh? There's no crying to mommy in a debate. Okay, you either show up with facts or you try your weak sauce identity politics and I'm the victim horse crap and you get your ass handed to you.
So I can't help myself. I had to show you, because it went on and on. So I have to show you a little more of her whining. It was amazing. Take a look.
Mamdani, just as you said here, is a socialist. He is someone who's going to drive New York to the bottom. I'm excited for him to win because he'll prove to every other single large city in our country that what you will see is failure, what you will see is high crime, what you will see is murders, for the reasons in which he is wrong and which he will drive New York into failure, is again the same reason why people on your show, instead of arguing the merits, as you say, of his opinions, they're going to sit here and use attacks on my husband and myself instead of debating us on our values and our opinions. It is gross. It is racist and it is bigoted. And I will not join your show again if your
values suck. That's what I'm debating.
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying two other guests on your show are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews. That is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for.
That was Omar Bader at the end, and he's amazing. And he totally hit the nail on the head, Cenk. I mean, this is the exact type of behavior the right has criticized the left for, in a lot of cases accurately, to be honest with you, hiding behind identity in order to avoid any personal responsibility or accountability when you do something wrong. I find that pretty gross as well. Weaponizing identity to silence people, I find that gross. Now you literally have, this is the thing that blows my mind. It's Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller's wife saying all this stuff.
Yeah. So look, more. First, if you didn't hear what I said to her a couple of times there, because there's a lot of crosstalk, the last comment I said is anti-Semitism my ass. Okay, because everything is anti-Semitism. You ask her about any topic, it doesn't matter. How's your day? You're an anti-Semite. Okay, you hate my children. All right, whatever, dude. All right, number two is when I said. She's like, oh no, they're just attacking us because they're racist and bigoted. Anna, you're right. I mean, the right wing hates that more than the left wing does.
They're supposedly, yeah.
And so now she's hiding behind her identity. In fact, later in the show, we talked about Karine Jean-Pierre. And I said the same thing on Piers Morgan that I said the day before on the Young Turks.
Yes.
Where I said, look, man, I don't care that Karine Jean-Pierre is a black queer woman, as she says like a million times. Yes, but what did you do? I don't care about your identity. Tell me what your positions are, what your policies are, what your ideas are. So we asked the same thing of Katie Miller that we asked of Karine Jean-Pierre. But what does she do? She does the same thing Karine Jean-Pierre does. She hides behind her identity. You're not allowed to criticize me. You're not allowed to debate me. You're not allowed to say I lie. You're not allowed to do anything because I'm Jewish, and that means you're an anti-Semite for opposing me. But wait a minute, I agree with other Jews, Dave Smith, Glenn Greenwald, Jeffrey Sachs. I can list 1,000 Jews that I love. In fact, I know hundreds of Jews. I don't know one that likes Stephen Miller or agrees with him, right? So if this standard,
except for his wife.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there are. I just don't know any out of the hundreds of Jews that I know, family and friends. They all despise Stephen Miller. So the idea that Stephen Miller and Katie Miller speak for all Jews might be the single most incorrect thing ever stated on Piers Morgan show, which is a hell of a thing, right?
Coded language.
Coded language for what? Most Jews can't stand you, okay?
Look, I will say this about Cenk, okay? He might be a lot of things, but he's not the kind of guy who uses coded language.
Yeah.
Okay, he comes in like a ton of bricks. Like he just does. That's who Cenk is. He's gonna say what he means. He's not gonna try to cower with coded language.
So as she was pretending I was attacking her race, what you might not have heard is I said, no, your values suck.
Yeah, no, that was the best line.
Okay.
That was my favorite line. It was so funny.
So it's like, I don't hide a thing, right? I'm gonna come for you 100 miles per hour. Anyway, the other thing about Mamdani, just super quick, we talked about it on the show before. Mamdani has more, according to the polling, every poll, more Jewish support than any other candidate in New York. And among Jews under the age of 45, he's at 67% approval.
You said 67% coded language. Coded language.
Math is anti-Semitic. But wait, no, Jewish Americans are on Mamdani's side.
Yeah.
No, Jews, 67% of Jews are anti-Semitic if they don't agree with the Millers?
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah.
Now look,
absurd.
After all of her pathetic tactics failed, she decided to turn to threats. And this was the moment that Cenk actually missed in real time, realized what was said today. And so let's watch, and then you'll finally have your opportunity to respond to it.
Israel does not get a pass on committing another genocide because Jewish people suffered the Holocaust. What happened in the Holocaust was disgusting.
You don't get a pass for calling them the SS.
Hold on. So what happened in the Holocaust and all the pogroms were disgusting. That doesn't mean that Israel, pretending to represent Jews across the world, gets to commit another genocide upon a totally innocent people and collective punishment and murdering children over and over again and go, I get to do it. I get to do a genocide.
Before you go off, Cenk, I just have to make one comment because it appears that Piers Morgan is very offended that you referred to the IDF as the SS.
Yeah.
Why are you offended, Piers? I mean, how is the IDF acting any differently? See, I want an answer to that. So how many kids do they need to slaughter happily for you to see them for what they really are?
Yeah.
I think they're the exact same, okay? Vicious, dehumanizing monsters. And I would never apologize for saying that. I think calling them SS is totally right. Go ahead, Cenk. I don't care. Oh, well, it's so insulting to Jewish people, is it? How about what the IDF is currently doing right now? Are we just gonna provide cover for that because they happen to be part of Israel, and we always provide cover for Israel regardless of how many innocent people they slaughter? No. I'm not falling for that. I don't care. The Holocaust doesn't give you license to carry out the exact same atrocities and not get criticized for it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what you might not have heard, because they kept interrupting me, is I was saying that the Holocaust and all the pogroms that Jews have gone through in history are disgusting. And it's terrible what happened to Jewish Americans. Then I went on to explain the reason that I mentioned the SS line is because, look, you can compare it to any soldiers of any genocide. And I mentioned the Ottomans doing it to the Armenians. So that is, of course, my ethnic group, Turks. And you could say they were Turkish soldiers or Cambodian soldiers that worked with Pol Pot, or Serbs in Srebrenica, etc. Are you saying that we're allowed to criticize all of those other races, religions, countries for doing a genocide, but the one country we're not allowed to criticize for doing a genocide is Israel? Well, then you're proving my point, which is No, Israel is allowed to do one. They get a pass. They get a free pass on genocide. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Can I just say something? 1.5 million Armenians were slaughtered by the Turks in 1915. And by the way, there were a ton of massacres prior to that as well. I would never in a million years run around weaponizing my identity to prevent anyone from criticizing me or Armenians if Armenians engage in bad behavior. It's not the 1940s anymore. You don't get to use that victim card to provide cover for the atrocities that are being carried out by Israel. I find that disgusting, right? Using and weaponizing the tragedy of the Holocaust in order to provide cover for very similar atrocities that are being carried out against the Palestinian people. That victim card thing doesn't work anymore. It's over.
Yeah, and so look, last couple of things here on the kids as an example. So I also explained on the show, 60% of the kids were killed according to a study by the BBC in Gaza with either head or chest shots from snipers from hundreds of yards away, 60% in the study that they did. So that is the IDF/SS looking, going, oh, by the way, they were all under 12. Oh, there's a 5-year-old. Who's gonna take the shot to murder him? Are you gonna get him through the brain or the heart? Oh, there's a 3-year-old, there's an 11-year-old. You're telling me that's not the SS? They have an 83% civilian kill ratio, the worst of any terrorist group in the world. That's the IDF. Worse than Hamas, worse than Al-Qaeda. I'm not talking that they're worse overall. I'm just saying in terms of purposely, intentionally killing civilians. Their civilian kill ratio is worse than any terror group and worse than Assad, the butcher in Syria, okay? So if that's not a genocide and that's not somebody your country you're allowed to criticize, I don't know what is. So that really gets to the heart of not Israel, not even the New York race. It gets to the heart of America and who are we? Because we started with talking about the New York race and she turned it into you're not allowed to criticize Israel, otherwise I'm gonna kick you out of America.
How about you get out of America? How about you go live in Israel? How about this is America where we have a diverse population of people who have all types of different faiths, all types of different nationalities and backgrounds, and they're here because they want to be Americans. They're here because they love America first and foremost. All these people running around trying to silence Americans or leech off of our resources for a foreign country, get the F out of our country. And I mean that with my whole chest. I loathe these people because I see them as traitors to this country. I see them as individuals who use and abuse this country on behalf of a foreign country. Get out. You love Israel, go live in Israel. Why aren't you living there? I don't get it, Cenk.
I know why.
I wanna, look, eventually one day when I retire, I wanna lay on a beach in Italy, but that's not because I dislike America. I freaking love this country. Okay, but I would never imagine lobbying hard to send over our resources and have our soldiers fight on behalf of Italy or Armenia or any other country. These people, they feel so entitled to it, and that's what drives me crazy. And then you have an entire political and media class that reinforces that narrative. No, we don't owe Israel anything, not a single dollar. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of politicians who are bribed and blackmailed into giving Israel anything and everything they want. But I don't co-sign onto that. I'm an American. I love this country.
Yeah, so what I would say is that they're traitors to the idea of America.
No, they're traitors to America.
Okay, so why?
She doesn't love America. Sorry, Jake, go ahead.
So why are they, you said why are they here? Well, first of all, they were born here to be fair, right? So I don't mind them being here, but I mind them serving Israel instead of us, especially when they're in the government. And she's not in the government, by the way, she's just a princess, Princess Snowflake. She's married to the nobles. So she's married to Stephen Miller. So she says, oh yes, as the wife of one of the nobles, one of the lords in the Trump administration, I get to unilaterally cancel your citizenship. That's not how this country works. So maybe that's how Israel works, where you're like, oh, you're a Muslim, that's it, you're canceled. Or maybe we murder you, maybe we kick you out, but you have no rights at all.
Yeah, open up
that's
some space
Israel. That's not here, that's not America. And by the way, now the right wing is on our side, and now young Jewish Americans all the way up to 45 years old are overwhelmingly on our side, and soon almost all Jewish Americans will be on our side. The only people left will be these pro-Israel radicals. And we never bring up religion. Every single time it's the pro-Israel radicals that bring up religion, right? So maybe others say it, but we certainly have never said it. We never say, oh, it's the Jews or anything along those lines. In fact, we do the exact opposite. We love our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we're not just saying that, they're Americans. It means something to be an American. That means you're one of us, okay? But what Katie Miller is doing is she's betraying that idea that you're one of us.
She's trying to bury Americans on behalf of Israel. Okay, that's what I have a problem with. When you're trying to destroy the lives of your fellow Americans because they hurt your feelings when they commented on a foreign country that you have far more loyalty to. Yeah, I said it. I said it. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not gonna hold back and I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. The fact that she threatened to revoke your citizenship because you're critical of Israel is disgusting, and she's a traitor to the country. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, okay, last thing from me. Guys, what authority does she have to revoke anybody's citizenship? She's saying, since I'm married to a noble, to an elite, and you are embarrassing me in this debate by being right, and I have literally no facts to back me up. All I have is charges of racism and anti-Semitism, right? But it doesn't matter, since I am one of the elites, I get to cancel any American that criticizes me or Israel. I don't know anything more un-American than that. I just don't. And so at this point, they're getting a twofer, the Millers and the other pro-Israel radicals. They're like, we get to enjoy beautiful America. We get to direct America's money to Israel. We get to do propaganda here against all Muslims because Israel's has continually attacked their Muslim neighbors and taking their land. And then we make America fight all those wars against those Muslims instead of Israel. So it's a giant win for them because they take everything they need from America, give it to their actual country that they're loyal to. And by the way, in all of this, did you ever hear me say anything about Turkey? Never, right? Because what do I care? I'm an American.
The only thing you say about Turkey, and in the context of that interview, is you talked about the Armenian genocide.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never say anything where, well, you owe Turkey. You're anti-Turkish if you criticize the government of Turkey. Like, I would never say anything that absurd. In fact, as Anna pointed out, I criticize the government of Turkey. You know why? I'm an American. But she does not feel that loyalty.
Yeah, because
at a moment's notice, she's like, Israel, 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 Israel. And DEI, culture wars, identity politics, cancel culture. I'm gonna do it all on behalf of Israel, and I'm gonna trash the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and the US Constitution, and try to literally attack Americans and kick them out of the country on behalf of a foreign government. And not only is that the most un-American thing you could do, it's also the very last thing you do if you want to be America first.
Yeah.
That is not America first, that's America last. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.
Show for tonight. Later on in the program, we're going to be joined by Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, famed cancer researcher and the owner of the Los Angeles Times. Perhaps he and I will be doing the Los Angeles Times crossword together on the program. Which, in my humble opinion, is subpar. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Los Angeles Times crossword puzzle. 4-letter word, I love blank. Lucy, it's Lucy. Look, there's a lot going on in the world right now.
There's been a lot of videos of Erica Kirk going around showing her inside of CIA promo videos when she was 22 and 23 years old.
This virgin here?
I don't know if you've seen them, but here's another one. James Lee found another one. With some lighter news to round out the week, Erica Kirk might actually be CIA. You think? Let's watch.
So the internet sleuths have dug up an old CIA documentary, and Erica Kirk is in it. Check this out.
We have 5 major threats that make our grid extremely vulnerable that we've presented to congressional officials. 1 being cyber, 2 being hackers, 3 being physical threats, 4th one is solar EMP, and the 5th one is man-made EMP. So the concern that we have is that we put out this critical information, and when we go over this risk analysis, they hear what we're saying, but they don't want to take action.
Okay, so apparently this clip is from a documentary called Black Start USA, and Erica Kirk, née Francevy, appears as a presenter or briefer on a topic of electromagnetic pulse, EMP threats, and vulnerabilities in the U.S. power grid.
First of all, I'm pretty sure she was 23 years old. So she's been CIA since the time she was a beauty queen. They got her, went and got her. So she's been CIA for a long time. Her mother is also in defense, and it all centers around Camp Huachuca.
Fort Hocktua, I believe, is
or
the way
Fort Hocktua, as Kurt calls it.
She is shown briefing or addressing a group of national security professionals, experts, and figures, including former CIA Director James Woolsey. The footage depicts her delivering information about potential EMP attacks, which could originate from high-altitude detonations or other means, and the risk of the coordinated physical attacks that could lead to widespread blackouts or grid failure. This is framed in the context of discussing Black Start protocols, the untested procedures for starting the power grid after a major disruption. Wow.
Wow. What does that tell you, Kurt? That tells me that she's been CIA since before she had her mind wiped.
Ever since she was first cloned, she's probably been in the organization.
I mean, there she is. She's 23 years old, giving it a presentation to CIA higher ups.
Yeah, well, her mom makes EMP defense weapons or something, EMP, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's hard for me to recognize her without fireworks and glitter.
Yeah, I can't. If there's not a Roman,
different with
without a Roman candle coming out of her ass and her leather pants.
Now, see if you can see her back here, where I have her like the Pillars of Freemasonry.
Yeah.
She looks very different. Yeah. Remember when she kept specifying, I had a human baby growing inside me, okay? I was growing a human. Why do you keep specifying human? That's really weird.
I just don't, how anybody...
She lost custody of those kids, by the way. You know, PCS took the kids. His parents got custody of the kids. You know that, right?
I've heard that. I can't verify that. Can you verify that? I've heard people say there was someone who made a slip of the tongue on CNN who said that yes, she had her kids taken away. Is
her human kids?
Her human. So I can't verify that.
What a nightmare, boy! His parents must not trust her at all.
Right?
You don't see him around. You don't see the Kirk old Pep and Mother Kirk around, do you?
What is she doing? What is it that, and of course so now we know, of course, she was at Camp Huachuca. We know, of course, that makes sense. Her mother, they're all in the intelligence, and that all goes through Camp Huachuca.
It's not even hard to believe. I don't even understand why there was a fight about it.
Yeah.
And now I 100% believe Fort Hocktua. Well, I already got people I know texting me about it. That's a MK. Lockheed runs it. They all get their own special forms of programming. It's proprietary, but that's what Fort Hocktua always was. It was, they give you a bowl of LSD, they used to say, for your MK Ultra shit. So that's why she was there. That's why all these influencers are here, just as Zbigniew Brzezinski predicted in his amazing technocrat state book.
Oh, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who used to be
Pazuzu Brzezinski.
Yeah, who was Morning Micah's father, who was I don't know what his position was in the Carter administration, but he was up there. And
he was the one that was arming before the Soviets.
He was the one who armed the Taliban in Afghanistan. That was his deal. So this is from Zbigniew Brzezinski, Trilateral Commission kingpin Zbigniew Brzezinski has nicely summed up the mindset of the brain tinkers in these government-sponsored programs, in between gloating over the wonders of the coming New World Order. In his book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era, he wrote, in the technotronic society that Brzezinski sees as the new order of society coming into ascendance after Marxism, the trend would seem to be towards the aggregation of the individual support of millions of uncoordinated citizens, easily within the reach of magnetic and attractive personalities, effectively exploiting the latest communication techniques to manipulate emotions and control reason.
Yeah.
That guy's been talking about what they're doing right now.
Yeah, that we're finally, because all over the years, all the stupid pundits were like a prototype of this, but now we're here where they can just put out those bounties online.
Yeah.
And have these magnetic personalities, or they get like a hot girl or whatever, and you effectively manipulate people's emotions.
There's been a lot of videos of Erica Kirk going around showing her inside of CIA promo videos when she was 22 and 23 years old.
This virgin here?
I don't know if you've seen them, but here's another one. James Lee found another one. With some lighter news to round out the week, Erica Kirk might actually be CIA. You think? Let's watch.
So the internet sleuths have dug up an old CIA documentary, and Erica Kirk is in it. Check this out.
We have 5 major threats that make our grid extremely vulnerable that we've presented to congressional officials. 1 being cyber, 2 being hackers, 3 being physical threats, 4th one is solar EMP, and the 5th one is man-made EMP. So the concern that we have is that we put out this critical information, and when we go over this risk analysis, they hear what we're saying, but they don't want to take action.
Okay, so apparently this clip is from a documentary called Black Start USA, and Erica Kirk, née Francevy, appears as a presenter or briefer on a topic of electromagnetic pulse, EMP threats, and vulnerabilities in the U.S. power grid.
I'm sure everyone has a lighter at home. But if the lighter is broken, because it's cheap, it's usually thrown away. But after watching this video, I'm sure many will look for a broken lighter. For example, like this. It's melted, so it can't be used. It has to be used like this. And in this video, I'm going to turn it into a really cool tool. If this video is useful, please help press like and subscribe. Thank you. Okay, so for the main ingredients, of course, this time I prepared one lighter. This is a regular lighter that is often found in the market. Unfortunately, the top part is melted and there's still a lot of content. If it's thrown away, it would be a shame. So this time, just imagine a regular lighter that has a normal flame. This can be modified into a jet flame. If it's like this, it's quite good for various things. Okay, let me show you how to modify it. The first step for this lighter, I'll leave it for now. Now we prepare an ABZ lighter that has run out. It can no longer light. So what we use is this small, round object. This is still good because it's made of iron. This one has melted because it's plastic. So I'll just use this metal one. Let's take it apart. Here's what I need with this little tool. A regular lighter with a normal flame can become a jet like this. Okay, this is the bottom. This is the top. Now prepare the broken lighter. If you put it in directly, this is filled with rubber, but the rubber won't melt because this bottom part isn't very hot. The heat is at the top. This is filled with rubber, a rubber seal. If you put it in directly, it won't fit, it will be loose. So, this time I need help from an old pen. This old pen is stuck. Later, we'll cut the tip and also the bottom. Here's the result. I've thrown away the filling. Now we just have to install it. Just plug it in like this. It will automatically lock. And for the bottom part, just plug it into the lighter. It fits. More or less like this. Now here I prepare the copper wire. Just wrap it around and shape it on the side. I shaped it more or less like this. Now we just have to install it on the side of the lighter. Let's take this off first. To attach this time I used insulation. Now just install it. And after all the processes above, the result is more or less like this. It's really cool, right? From the old match that was no longer used, the flame was yellow. Now it's a match with a blue flame and this flame is a jet flame. So it can immediately warm and heat the top. For the top here, I used a piece of copper for heat storage. So when it comes into contact with fire, it will heat up, it becomes a portable soldering iron. So this soldering iron can be carried anywhere without having to depend on electricity. It's really cool for an emergency soldering iron when the power goes out. Done. Let me just show you how it works. If this one has a yellow flame, if this one has a blue flame, a slightly reddish blue, and this one can't be exposed to wind, it's no problem, it's safe even if it's exposed to wind. If this one gets out, it goes out. This one is also safe. It's not a problem if it gets exposed to wind. Here's how it works. We press. For example, this is for soldering. Okay, the flame is blue. Is it lit or not? Oh, it is, but you can't see the flame. It's lit, right, friends? Let me find some paper. The flame is blue. I set it as low as possible so it lasts. Well, it's on. Now we can use it for soldering. Notice that the tip is very hot. It can be used for soldering. Okay, that's great, right? Try soldering the cable. Here are the results. Is it strong? Okay, the results are very good. Maybe that's enough for the latest video from Inspiration Business this time. Hopefully it's useful. If you like videos from Inspiration Sousa, you can click the like button below. And don't forget to press the subscribe button so you don't miss other interesting and latest videos from Inspir Sousa. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. E.
This isn't a motorcycle. It's a sealed, all-weather machine built to beat the storm. And this is the man behind it. Meet Benny, a former satellite engineer, now full-time problem solver. In his garage, there's only one rule. If you can dream it, you can build it. The success of his next project hinges on one critical part, the wraparound canopy. To form it, he needs an industrial thermoforming machine that has a $100,000 price tag. This is completely out of budget, so he'll build the whole factory in his garage using hardware store parts and an engineer's brain. And there's one final twist, a hard deadline. Benny has committed to unveiling the finished machine at the country's biggest motorcycle festival just 90 days from now. The clock is ticking. Can one man pull this off? Before building the canopy, Benny needs a motorcycle. He starts by recycling the modified frame from a previous project. The first job is reassembling the rolling chassis. After 2 days, the bike is whole again, ready for transformation. Benny paid $3,000 for it. It's the first expense in a budget that will be pushed to the limit. To fit the canopy, the rider's position must be lowered. His solution is to remove the entire rear support structure of the seat. It's a major change to the bike's core geometry, requiring new, custom-fabricated mounting points. This is where his years as a machinist are critical. One wrong move could compromise the entire chassis, turning his $3,000 investment into scrap. The modification makes the factory seat unusable. With the frame permanently altered, the original part must be cut and reshaped to fit. "10 days of work are gone just to create the foundation. And the real challenge is yet to come. Benny needs a machine that can shape plastic on an industrial scale. This process is called thermoforming. The principle is simple. Use heat to make a plastic sheet pliable, Then use a vacuum to shape it over a mold. This factory machine costs over $100,000. For a lone engineer, this is far beyond budget. So he's left with one option: build the entire factory himself. It all starts with the mold. The final canopy will be an exact copy, so any flaw in this master pattern will be permanent. He first builds the skeleton of steel customized for the bike's frame to ensure an ergonomic fit. From there, he builds up the raw volume with layers of expanding foam. A fast and resourceful way to create a large, lightweight core. To sand the complex curves, a standard tool won't work. So in true Benny fashion, when the perfect tool for the job doesn't exist, he improvises his own. A hard, two-part body filler is applied to create the final, durable surface. This is the most painstaking part of the process. For 6 days, he has been racing against time, working 15-hour shifts to sand the mold perfectly smooth. All that work for a single piece. And this is just the first step. Now comes the next stage of the build. Time to build the thermoforming machine. The heart of the thermoforming machine begins here. A $600 old trailer that will serve as the foundation for a custom factory oven. "20 days of the project are gone, almost a full month out of the 3 months he had initially. With the festival deadline looming, the calendar itself is now the enemy. The entire interior is lined with reflective foil, ensuring every degree of heat is trapped and focused on the plastic. To produce that heat, he turns to an unlikely source. He's gambling that 10 simple household heaters can deliver the thermal energy required to mold plastic. With no multi-million-dollar budget, talent and ingenuity are his most valuable assets. The heaters add another $300 to the cost, pushing his total investment to almost $4,000 already. It's a massive electrical load. One bad connection could mean a catastrophic fire. To manage the risk, he splits the 10 heaters across 5 separate circuits. With the flip of a switch, his homemade oven comes to life. 12,000 watts of power ready to be unleashed. But the factory isn't finished yet. With the oven ready to heat the plastic, it is now time to build the separate machine that will shape it, the vacuum system. It's Its job is to create a powerful suction force strong enough to pull softened plastic over a mold and capture every curve. The table has two levels. The top is where the mold will sit. Below is where the engine of the machine will be stored. A small vacuum pump alone isn't nearly powerful enough, so he connects it to 3 massive tanks. Materials for the vacuum system aren't cheap, and just like that, another $1,200 have flown away. Building from scratch has a price, and it's rising fast. Here's how the system works. First, a pump sucks the air out of the tanks. They become a vacuum, desperate to pull air back in. When the valve is opened, the suction rushes through the table and pulls the hot plastic tightly over the mold, shaping it exactly. Finally, he needs to prepare the platform where the mold will be placed. A rubber gasket is laid along the edge, designed to create an airtight seal. He then drills a grid of holes. This is where the suction will come from, pulling air straight down through the table when he opens the valve. Between the oven and the vacuum system, our engineer has spent another 22 whole days working, leaving just 48 days until his deadline. There is no slowing down. This small garage is about to test Benny like never before. The final component has arrived. A 4mm sheet of polycarbonate destined to become the canopy for his motorcycle. At $400 apiece, every single attempt carries a heavy price. Now, it's all about the last details. It's been nearly 2 months of work to get to this point, thousands of dollars invested, and a constant race against a deadline that gets closer every day. It's time to see if his theory holds up. The sheet is loaded into the oven, and the heaters ignite. Catastrophe.
No. Nothing.
Weeks of preparation turned to scrap in less than a minute. The first major test has ended in complete failure. And the damage gets worse. The master mold cracked. But for our man, this only means one thing: time to get back to work. Every new layer of body filler needs hours to cure, a costly delay that eats into precious time in an already tight schedule. Analyzing the wreck, he realizes the oven didn't produce enough heat to make the plastic pliable. To solve it, he brings 5 more heaters, boosting the oven to a total of 15. He will also cut the oven in half to reduce the space between plastic and heat, and then he will hang the entire rig from the ceiling. Heating from above cuts the transfer time, preventing the plastic from cooling before the pull. Benny now has less than a month to re-engineer the entire thermoforming machine and make it work. As he reinforces the frame, he spots a critical flaw. A triangular gap that is acting like a chimney, letting precious heat escape. To maximize the oven's efficiency, he seals the opening, ensuring the chamber is completely airtight. The deadline is no longer a distant goal, but an immediate threat, and he's running out of money. New heaters, redesigned materials, and another plastic sheet on the way have pushed the cost up by another $700. The new heater setup is working perfectly. With that sorted, it's time to flip the chamber upside down and suspend it from the ceiling. It's a risky move. If the ceiling mount fails, hundreds of pounds of steel and 15 live heaters will come crashing down, wrecking the entire mold below and endangering everyone in the garage. Any more setbacks could mean running out of resources to finish the project, and no motorbike to showcase at the festival. The oven has been cut, sealed, and supercharged with 15 heaters, and the entire rig now hangs from the ceiling. This isn't just a second attempt, it's a completely new machine. And after the first frame cracked, this new one is built tougher, reinforced with steel. The new sheet of plastic has arrived. Time for round 2. 14 days left. Another disaster. After 2 failed attempts, he changes to a new material, acrylic. It softens at a lower temperature and stays workable for longer. The sheet took a full week to arrive, leaving just 7 days left. His nerves are shot. If this fails, he won't make it to the festival. The pull is clean, no rips, no wrinkles, but the shape is too shallow, unusable. Instead of giving up, he tries a desperate move, reheating the same plastic and firing the vacuum a second time. They might have something promising here. The victory is short-lived. The mold is too small for a person to fit inside. The clock has beaten him. After months of relentless work, the anti-rain motorcycle is not ready for the festival. He's frustrated, but refuses to arrive at the festival empty-handed. Instead, he decides to bring an old creation of his, a custom-built motorcycle. The festival was a success. Attendants loved his vehicle, a much-needed victory after weeks of exasperation and expensive failures. But the anti-rain bike is still waiting in the garage, and he is determined to finish it. After repeated failures, Benny is forced to consider a radical approach. The mold is too tall for the plastic to ever fit the whole contour. He must cut apart the mold he has spent weeks perfecting and commit to a new two-part design. This will completely change the motorcycle's design he had in mind, but he is convinced he can make it work. The festival deadline has already slipped by, buying him time, but not relief. His budget is in ruins, and he has seriously considered quitting. But his decision is final. He is going to give it a last chance. For this all-or-nothing attempt, he wants to cover all the bases. He attacks the one remaining weakness, the suction system. His current vacuum pump is like trying to drain a pool with a garden hose, far too weak. Before risking his final sheet, he upgrades to a heavy-duty compressor and runs a trial. The result gives him hope. Now, the final attempt begins. A perfect pull. The plastic snaps tight over every contour of the mold. The journey here wasn't easy. A factory machine born from an old trailer. 3 failed attempts. Weeks lost. Thousands burned. Nights spent on the edge of quitting. And yet, he never stopped. Could this be the moment it all pays off? Against the odds, he has done it. At long last, success. The dream is alive. But there is no time for celebration. The project isn't done. This was not the initial plan. A 2-part canopy creates a brand new engineering puzzle. How to join them? Once again, Benny is forced to invent. He begins by fabricating a flat strip that will lock the 2 halves together, creating the needed space for the rider inside. He fabricates aluminum edge rails, rolling them to perfectly match the canopy's curve. They will act as the spine, locking the new center panel to the outer shells. The metal frame acts as a structural brace, preventing the side window from flexing under wind pressure. It is what truly holds everything together. Dozens of small, custom-bent L-shaped brackets will be placed on the inside, locking the 3 panels into one solid piece. Now, it's about assembling it all to create the long-awaited canopy. For this part of the build, Benny had to buy pieces and materials that add another $250 to the bill. Finally, the canopy is complete, and he can move on to the final assembly. For the first time, the two halves of the project, the motorcycle and the canopy, are about to become one. He starts by making the mounting points. If they fail at speed, the result would be catastrophic. So before anything, he needs to reinforce the front, making sure it will sustain the canopy's weight. The fairing has to be cut apart to make room. He designs a custom spring-loaded mechanism to secure the canopy. The first test reveals a flaw. The canopy collides with the bike's bodywork. A quick, decisive cut with the saw provides the needed clearance. For the new mirrors, which he bought for $70, he fabricates a custom bar that will...
Live streaming on YouTube is a great way to connect with your audience in real time. Whether you're streaming an event, teaching a class, playing video games, performing for your fans, or hosting a Q&A, YouTube has all of the tools that will help you manage your stream and engage with your community in real time with live chat. There are 3 ways you can live stream on YouTube: with a mobile device, a webcam, or with an encoder. Webcam and mobile are great options for beginners and allow you to go live quickly without much setup, while encoder streaming is ideal for more advanced and customized live streams. Here's a quick overview of each one. Mobile streaming. You can stream from the YouTube app with a mobile device. To live stream on mobile, you'll need at least 1,000 subscribers and a phone or tablet with a camera. This is a great option if you're looking to be flexible with where you stream and capture moments or events on the go. Webcam streaming. Anyone with a YouTube channel can easily live stream using webcam and your computer. Streaming this way doesn't require extra software, and since most computers have built-in cameras, this option requires no extra equipment. Webcam streaming is great for hosting live Q&As with your fans or just hanging out with them. Encoder streaming. Encoders allow you to capture content, including your desktop, camera, microphone, and more, and send it out to YouTube Live to be streamed to your audience. This type of stream is commonly used for gaming, sporting events, concerts, or conferences. So this is a good option if you want to live stream gameplay, overlays, or use special hardware like preamps, mics, and cameras. Hopefully this overview helps you choose the best option for yourself depending on the type of content you want to stream. With any of these options, make sure to plan ahead and test out your sound and visuals beforehand with an unlisted or private stream. This will also help you feel more comfortable with the look and sound of your stream. And once you're ready, be sure to let your audience know when you plan on going live. And of course, keep in mind that all of the content you stream must adhere to YouTube's community guidelines and terms of service.
It's a finished machine.
Now, if it's your very first time streaming, there are some things you'll need to do before you can start. First is you'll need to verify your channel. Before you can stream, make sure you verify at youtube.com/verify if you haven't already. Note that this verification is different than the verification badges you might see on some channels across YouTube, and it just requires a simple telephone number verification. Then you'll need to enable your channel for live streaming. To do this, go to youtube.com.
As the rain falls, the world outside is a blur of water and spray. Inside the cockpit, the rider remains perfectly dry. The theory has been tested, and Benny's vision has come to a reality. The custom-built canopy opens and closes effortlessly, and the homemade latch he engineered holds firm. This isn't just a prototype anymore, it's a fully functional machine. As the rain falls, the world outside is a blur of water and spray. Inside the cockpit, the rider remains perfectly dry. The theory has been tested, and Benny's vision has come to a reality. The custom-built canopy opens and closes effortlessly, and the homemade latch he engineered holds firm. This isn't just a prototype anymore, it's a fully functional machine. The journey wasn't easy. It was measured in countless hours, many tests, and costly failures. There were points where he almost gave up the project. The result now lives and breathes on the open road. A machine that deflects the wind and sheds the rain, performing the exact function for which it was conceived. This is the very essence of pure invention. It isn't about multi-million-dollar labs or massive teams of engineers. It's about the rare genius required to not only design the final product, but to first build the factory that can make it. This machine is the result, a powerful reminder that the most groundbreaking ideas often come not from a boardroom, but from the focused, brilliant mind of a single creator.